Definitely appreciate the time. Great conversation so far. This has been great to listen in on, and looking forward to continuing the conversation through Angelbeat. And thank you for the opportunity for being a part of this as well, Rob. So thank you. My name is John Weidenhammer. I'm a senior solutions architect here over at Cloudbrink. I've been here for a few years. I have a background of spanning over a decade in networking and infrastructure, starting in the United States Marine Corps and working at places like Cisco and Nutanix. And one of the things that I ran into frequently at those places was a problem where remote connectivity is almost a luxury at this point. It's something that through the pandemic and COVID accelerated hybrid work and really didn't solve for the problem of we have these users that are working from anywhere. What is their connectivity like, and how is that impacting the productivity of those remote workers? So that's what Cloudbrink has aimed to solve. The issues that you see both at the last mile and mid mile networks are very prevalent today. Those consumer grade ISPs and consumer grade pieces of hardware that you're getting from those internet service providers are very underperformant. They're only 99 to 98% reliable at best, which leads to a lot of application performance issues across the board. And traditionally, these have been problems that you, as an in office worker, could control very easily by upgrading equipment, right? You could have great MPLS and fiber links that get brought into an organization. You can have border perimeter firewalls that secure the inbound and outbound connectivity of that organization. You could have upgraded enterprise grade routers and switches. You could put the servers and applications co-located in that building so that there's sub-millisecond latency from the user to the applications that are very important to those business problems. However, the solutions of today in the remote access space don't meet the needs of that, right? They're not able to provide you that low latency, high performant access because VPNs have been a problem in that sense because of overheads or hairpinning of traffic. And it's something that Cloudbrink aimed to solve through our unique architecture and the technology that we have behind us. This is a problem that spans across industries. We have a large amount of clients in the financial space, but across every vertical, it's something that users from home are struggling. Help desks at all different organizations are getting inundated with reports of performance-related challenges, and you don't really have a tool in your tool set to be able to provide them something better, right? Organizations typically don't want to deal with hardware, so you're not going to ship them out new routers, new switches for their home network, new Wi-Fi access points. You can't usually get them new ISPs. There's only a limited amount of those in a specific region. Starlink has been great, but even there, the coverage isn't 100%, and it still has some latency that's involved with it. So in those cases that you want to have a workforce be truly hybrid, you need a better solution to be able to solve for those problems. Think about everyone on this call. I'm sure you've dealt with issues where Zoom calls have gotten disconnected, Teams calls have been disconnected. You've had trouble hearing people or seeing them through video or audio. VDI sessions are one that we see quite a bit in the financial space where keystrokes will be very delayed. You'll get disconnected from those VDI workloads, or even just the quality of the video coming through and being in very low quality is something that we hear quite a bit. And that's something that has an impact on the business, right? It's something that your remote workers are going to be more frustrated working remotely because they don't have that great connectivity that they've been used to. So we wanted to be able to provide those remote workers with an in-office like experience while giving you the best-in-class security without compromise. So what Cloudbrink has done is we've built this overlay network that we build into a series of our fast edges that are deployed across a true multi-cloud environment. We leverage AWS very heavily in the local zones that they have, but we also leverage Azure and GCP and some local data center and fiber providers across the globe to get our edges as close to the end users as possible. For about 80% of the population today, we're able to get these edges anywhere from 5 to 25 milliseconds away from where those end users sit. And from there, we build this overlay network through our edge side to be able to optimize network traffic in a lot of unique ways. We do some common techniques to improve performance that you're probably familiar with. Anyone in the networking space that might be on the call is probably familiar with hearing things like modifying of different window sizes, doing some things like forward error correction, some packet piggybacking on an intelligent basis. But there's over 70 different techniques that we're using, and some of them are patented to us to be able to improve that last mile network where if you're sitting at home on a network that has 1 to 15% of packet loss, Cloudbrink can help easily overcome that problem, which is directly going to lead to that application performance being that much better. Think of the Microsoft minutes of a file transfer taking way too long just to download and interact with files. High frequency traders love our platform because of the responsiveness of web pages, the low latency that we can provide, especially in comparison to public networks and public hotspots and Wi-Fi networks of the such. All those things just become that much more responsive because we're able to overcome things like packet loss. And on the latency side, if you want to think of us in the SASE space and ZTNA space as also having an SD-WAN capability all the way to the end user, we do that 100% in software. There's no hardware required whatsoever for our solution to be able to function. But that helps also reduce mid-mile latency so that if you are connecting through an ineffective peer that has much higher latency than you would like, we're able to do a cloud-based BGP-like service where across all these hyperscalers, which have very low latency backbones, very high throughput backbones, we can measure what the fastest path is on a per session basis and actually accelerate that connection so that you have lower mid-mile latency, usually anywhere from 10 to 30% of reduction in that sense. So that's something that we're doing to help remote connectivity and remote workers so that you have a great performance and experience there. But security is also at the forefront of our mind, right? We wanted to make sure that security was the biggest threat that we solve for, because a lot of solutions that you've heard of in the last few years have been exposed and taken advantage of because of some of the lacking in their security protocols or even the overall architecture that's out there. AWS had mentioned before of them leveraging TLS 1.2 or higher in their connections just because they wanted to make sure that you're meeting compliance regulations and that you're as secure as possible from their standpoint. However, that's great for AWS, but think of all the other traffic that you might be accessing both in the public cloud or private cloud space, right? Your on-prem data centers, your hypervisors that you have private apps that are business critical to you, or even just other SaaS applications that might not leverage the same protocols. You want to make sure that those connections are even that much more secure. So from our standpoint, we actually leverage the highest level of TLS in 1.3 for all connections. We use end-to-end encryption in that sense, and we leverage a mutually authenticated piece of TLS here so that both source and destination validate a certificate that's shared instead of using static certificates that are very long-lived. We actually developed this automated moving threat defense capability of networking by doing this because we rotate those certificates on a per user basis multiple times a day. All this to be said is that Cloudbrink has the highest level of encryption standard that's out there today on the ZTNA space, and it's one that helps secure data for users and network access for users, again, regardless of that application there. We've also developed some secure defined perimeter approaches to that private network access where in a traditional sense, a lot of companies struggle with VPN rules for ZTNA for firewalls, where your outbound and inbound connections on your firewall need to be open because you have a gateway sitting behind a DMZ somewhere. That's a huge problem because threat actors are going to use that as a window of opportunity to be able to poke holes in your firewall and figure out what their attack surface is. In our sense, right, this software-defined approach to networking actually removes that need, right? We don't require any inbound ports whatsoever for our product to function for private network access, which is a huge benefit in the security space. It's completely shutting that door for any threat actor that might be trying to poke holes in your firewall. We connect through outbound connections only, well-known ports back into that fast edge network to give you, better connectivity. Obviously, table stakes items for us is user trust. We have SAML integration. We do host-based checks for devices as well. A lot of organizations through COVID, they want to get out of managing hardware. So BYOD initiatives are a key part of what a lot of companies are trying to achieve. And we can help in that sense where you want to validate that the user's trusted, that the device is trusted, the device has a baseline set of security principles applied to it, and then only then do you give that least privilege on the network. And from our perspective, being a ZTNA solution, you could do full tunneling, you could do micro tunnels going down to a single /32 or multiple ranges to be able to support whatever networks that you have there. So all that being said, right, we're enhancing the user experience regardless if you're just a SaaS-based company only accessing SaaS applications. If you are in the data center space and you have private cloud VPCs or on-prem hypervisors or multiples of those connections, we can help provide accelerated and secure access to those simultaneously. One of the complaints that a lot of VPN users have today is that they actually have to click a drop down and say, I'm connecting to my Salt Lake City data center or my Florida data center or wherever it might be to get access into those applications. And it's not a great end user experience. So being able to provide that simultaneous access is great, but it's giving you that mission critical like performance to those applications that's very important for Cloudbrink to be able to deliver on. We've had independent studies done on improving speeds and even up to 30x of improvement, especially compared to traditional VPNs. is what we're able to achieve, even as simple as something as a file transfer. We have a lot of clients today that are working with large language models as well as big data sets that are transferring hundreds of gigabytes, if not terabytes of data on a daily basis. And this helps reduce down those minutes of time that takes to actually transfer those files, because we're overcoming some of that packet loss and reducing some of that latency, where one of our Fortune 100 customers that we support today was completely changed their workload and workflow, because they were previously taking almost a day to replicate some of these changes. They reduced that down with Cloudbrink to a matter of minutes. So it's a huge benefit for remote worker and productivity, just by ensuring the SLAs around either data transfer or file transfers, video calls and audio calls, VDI access, being able to give you much better security and performance in that sense. Uh, the multiple cloud flexibility is something that we hear a lot of as well. I just saw the question come up about, hey, how do I migrate from Azure into AWS? A lot of companies want to, though, maintain multiple cloud access, either for high availability and failover, or just based off of the applications that you host in those regions being maybe more specific to a certain provider. That multi-cloud connectivity is something that we can help you achieve as well. I talked about some of the benefits that you'll get out of Cloudbrink, and what the problem is that we're aiming to solve. But these are, I won't read all the bullets here. That's not what we're aiming to do here. But this is something that helps in all those different types of applications, again, to give you that better connectivity in a much more secure way, so that you're able to deliver whatever the business critical applications are to your remote users in a very effective manner. So with that being said, right, I've covered, I think, the highlights of what our solution does from a quality of experience standpoint, right? We want to be able to deliver that in-office-like experience to users anywhere with, the best security that's out there today. And I think I've covered that. If you do have interest, happy to have, follow-up conversations with anyone here or answer any questions that you may have. But that's what we have for you today from a Cloudbrink perspective, and I'll looking forward to the discussion and any questions I might be able to answer for you.